Hi guys, we have January 2021, paper 1, 1H, so just make sure you have the right paper. This is, well, it starts with Peter, who owns a currency conversion shop. Okay, he changed this many rand into a number of different currencies. He changed this much into euros. He then changed the rest in this ratio. Okay, let's just do that first before I read everything. So he had 20,160 and he changed 3/10 into 3/10 of this. So 3/10 times this equals, let's go back to 1. So 3/10 times 20,160 is 6048. So it's this many euros. He changed that much into euros. So sorry, he has this much rand in euros. He then changed the rest into dollars, rupees, and francs in this ratio. Okay, so what does he have left? Well, 20160 minus 6048. And actually, guys, I could have just found 7/8 of this, but this is going to give you the same answer. I'm going to do 2160 minus 6048, which is 14112. 14112. As I say, you could have got 7/8 of this and then split it into this ratio. Okay, then to split this much in this ratio, I need to do 9 plus 5 plus 2, which is 16. So I have a total of 16 parts. So I'm going to do 14112 divided by 16. I'm going to divide this by 16 to see what one part is. Divided by 16, 882. So 882. So it's in the ratio 9 to 5 to 2. Dollars to rupees to francs. So to find how many dollars, I do 9 times 882. This is how many dollars. Rupees, I do 5 times 882. And francs, I do 2 times 882. Okay, let's do these 3. So 882 times 9 is 7938. 7938. 882 times 5 is 4410. 4410. And 882 times 2, 882 times 2 is 1764. 1764. This is actually a difficult first question. He says, Peter changed more rands into dollars than he changed into francs. Yes, he did, because this is dollars, rupees, and francs. And he says he changed more dollars than francs. Yes, he did. He changed $7938. Minus the number of francs will give me how much more, because this is how much more rupees, sorry, how much more rands did he change? And I just subtract them. 77938 minus 1764 gives me 6174, which is correct. 6174. Okay, difficult first question. 6174. Question 2. Okay, the table gives speeds for 80 motorbikes. First question, part A, says write down the modal class. The modal class is the most common class. So these are the classes, and the one that happens the most frequently, is the one with the highest frequency. This one, so that's the modal class. The 70 less than s less than or equal to 80. It's like the interval, this interval. So this is the kind of most common speed that motorbikes were passing. Then this is work on an estimate for the mean. Give answer to 3 significant figures. Okay, hopefully guys you've seen this type of question before. An estimate for the mean, we have to get the midpoint. So the midpoint, let's call it MP for midpoint. It's the midpoint of these, because we have to get the midpoint of the interval. I'm going to say that's 45, 55, 65, 75, and 85. To get the midpoint, add them together and divide by 2. If you can't just see that halfway between 40 and 50 is obviously 45. Okay, then frequency times midpoint. I have to do the midpoint times the frequency. I have to do this times this to give me the total speeds of all the 80 motorbikes. So let's do just that. 45 times 10 I can do. 16 times 55 is 880. So this is 450. This is 880. 19 times 65. 19 times 65 is 1235. 1235. 23 times 75 is 1725. 1725. And 12 times 85 is 1020. 1020. Okay, the mean is then the sum of all these, 450 plus 880 plus 1235 plus 1725 plus 1020 divided by the total number of motorbikes, which is 80, not 5 or anything silly like that, guys. It's 80 motorbikes. So the mean is, let's do this, 450 plus 880 plus 1235 plus 1725 plus 1020 all over 80. 66.375. 66.375. 3 significant figures is 66.4. You go 1, 2, 3. This is the third significant figure. Look to the right, it's 7, so we have to round up. So it's 66.4. Okay, question 3. Container for water, shape of a prism. Rectangular base of the prism is shown, sorry, the base of the prism shown shaded in the diagram is horizontal. Fine, the container is completely full of water. Tua is going to use a pump to empty the water from the container so that the volume of water in the container decreases at a constant rate. The pump starts to empty water from the container at 10:30, and at 12 the water in the container has dropped by 20 centimeters. Find the time at which all the water has been pumped out of the container. Okay, right, this is obviously tricky, guys. I have to think myself. So here's the 20 centimeters. So it's going to be full. Okay, so this bit here is going to be empty. So just this kind of cuboid empties in an hour and a half. So I would like to know, so it's the volume of water is decreasing at a constant rate. So I'd like to know the volume of this here. If I can get the volume of this, I may have a chance. Right, let's have a think. This is 85 centimeters, and this is 30 centimeters. Okay, well, I have that. So I can get the volume of this blue cuboid here. So this volume, V, equals 30 times 20 times 125. That's my width times height times length. Okay, that's fairly straightforward. Let's just do that. 30 times 20 times 125. 75,000. Okay, so this is 75,000 centimeters cubed, which is actually 75 liters, but let's just leave it at 75,000 centimeters cubed. Now, from 10:30 to 12:30, the water this emptied. So because it dropped by 20 centimeters, which means this part of the whole shape was emptied. So that means in an hour and a half, 75,000 centimeters cubed left this this tank. So the rate at which it's emptying, the rate, let's just write it like this, is 75,000 centimeters cubed every 1.5 hours. Now 75,000 divided by 1.5 is 50,000. Okay, so the rate is 50, let's write this here, 50,000 centimeters cubed per hour. And it says it's decreasing at a constant rate, so we can assume that this stays the same for this whole journey. Okay, now the rest of it, let's use a different color, blue. Let's use this. The rest of it, this much, is now going to be emptied. So let's get the volume of this cuboid. So the volume of this cuboid, let's call this V1. V2, guys, note I'm writing here just so that we can still see the diagram. You should obviously write here and below. Okay, the volume 2 is length times breadth times height, or whatever way you want to do it, but it's 85 times 125 times 40. By the way, guys, these are for the first 3 questions. This is pretty hard, but sometimes that means the last questions are easier, so don't panic. Times 40. Okay, 425,000. 425,000. Now, what did we say? We said it is decreasing. The volume is decreasing at 50,000 centimeters cubed per hour, and we need to empty 425,000 centimeters cubed. So to find out how many hours it's going to take to empty this much, we have to do 425,000 divided by 50,000, and that will tell us how many hours it's going to take to empty the rest of this. So 425,000 over 50,000 is 17 over 2, which is 8.5. 8.5. Okay, that's good, because that means, therefore, this is my therefore symbol, therefore it will empty 8.5 hours after 12 o'clock, 1200 hours. But the question says, find the time. So you need to actually give the time, but obviously 8.5 hours after 12 is 8:30. So the answer is 8:30. Now guys, we're dealing with 24-hour clock here, so just be careful. I'm sure if you wrote 8:30 p.m. you'd be fine, but let's just stick with 20:30. That is 8:30 in 24-hour time. So 20:30. Okay, that's question 3. Question 4, hopefully guys it'll get a bit easier. This one's nice, I think. Okay, A intersection B. That's what's in A and in B. So we want odd numbers and multiples of 3, and it has to be in this set. So what's an odd number and a multiple of 3? Well, 21 for sure. 23, no, because it's not a multiple of 3. 25, no. 27, yes, and that's it. It's just 21 and 27. Then a union B, so that could be an odd number or a multiple of 3. So I'm going to write down all the odd numbers. So that would be 21, 23, 25, 27, and 29. 21, 23, 25, 27, and 29. And any number that is a multiple of 3. So this is not, this is not, this is, yes, because 3 times 8 is 24. This is not, and this is not. So it's just 24, and I'll add it here. You can write these in order, but you get, there's no problem writing these numbers not in order. Okay, that was actually not a bad question. Question 5. Factorize fully. Okay, so we need to take out the common factors. So the number will be 5. I'll take out a 5. And, sorry, I'm going to take out a y cubed, because there's a y cubed here and there's a y cubed here. There's no u. Open bracket. What do I need to multiply now to get this? Well, 4, sorry, that's wrong. 3, because 5 times 3 is 15. And y, because y cubed times y gives me y to the 4. Plus 4, because 5 times 4 is 20, u. And there we go. Okay, part B. Solve this. Solve means 5x, right? First step, definitely, guys, multiply both sides by 4. When you multiply both sides by 4, it removes the denominator on the right. 5 minus 8x. So I multiply across by 4 here, and when I multiply this side by 4, this 4 disappears, and I get this. Then multiply out. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times minus 3x is minus 12x equals 5 minus 8x. I think I'm going to get my x's on the right because it'll work out a bit nicer because I won't have negatives. And my numbers on the left. So I'm going to subtract this 5 and I'm going to add the 12x over here. So it's minus 8x plus 12x. 16 minus 5 is 11. Minus 8x plus 12x is 4x. And then divide both sides by 4 and I get 11 over 4. And that is the answer, or 2.75 is also the same thing. Okay, write this in standard form. Standard form, I need 2.84. This number has to be between 1 and 10. Then I multiply by 10 to the power of however many I need to make it this big number. The way I've calculated is simply like this. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So be very, very careful. It's 10 to the power of 9, which makes sense because of it's 2 billion. If you want to check your answer, you can write 2, 8, 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like this. And if you do, oh, actually, sometimes that actually works. Sorry, let's go the other way. 2.84 times 10 to the power of 9 equals, and then it gives you here. So now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 zeros, and this guy has 7 zeros, so I know I'm right. Similarly, I can do 2.5 times 10 to the power of negative 4, like this, and it gives me, well, hang on. This doesn't give me the answer. So it gives me 1 over 400. And when I change it to this, it gives me in that form. Okay, so I'm going to have to write it out the long way. I like to go, guys, 0, 0, 0, 0. Just put lots of zeros and then my 2.5 or my just 25 like this. And I want to go, right, the answer is going to be 2.5 times 10, sorry, it is 2.5 times 10 to the power minus 4, but I'm going to write it as 0 point something. Another way I'm going to figure it out is I'm going to go to 2.5 here, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to stop there. Now you can erase, you can put in your point there if you like. That's my big point. You can erase this if you want, but that's why I put enough zeros. You don't have to erase that. So long as here you put 1, 2, 3 zeros, a 2, and a 5. Okay, question 7. Chen invests 40,000 won in a fixed term bond for 3 years. The fixed term bond pays a compound interest rate of this. Work out the value of Chen's investment at the end of 3 years. Right, so this is nice, guys. It's 40,000 times 1.035. That will increase it by 3.5%. But it's for 3 years, so I have to do this to the power of 3. And I get 40,000 times 1.035 to the power of 3, which is 44348. 44348.715. Give your answer to the nearest one. When they do that, guys, you have to round it or you lose a mark. So 44349. Because of the 7, it's closer to 9 than to 8. Okay, part B. Wang invested P1. The value of his investment decreased by 6.5% each year. At the end of the first year, the value of his investment was this. Work out the value of P. Okay, so this is a reverse percentage question, guys. It's a little bit tricky. The way I do it, there's a few ways to do it. The way I do it is same as the last example, but this time it's just P. Instead of 40,000, it's P. And we multiply this by the multiplier. In this case, the multiplier is 0.935. Now, how did I get that? Well, I did 100 minus 6.5. Because it's decreasing by 6.5%, I can do 100 minus 6.5 is 93.5. So this means I want to get 93.5% of P. That will decrease it by 6.5%. So this times 0.935 equals 30,0481. So this time I know what it's now equal to, but I didn't know what it was originally. So I just have to find P, and the way I find P is by dividing 30481 divided by 0.935. Let's do this. 30481 over 0.935 is 32600. 32600. Okay, question 8. The region shown shaded in the diagram is a path. The boundary of the path is 2 semicircles, center O, inner circle has radius 7, path is width 2. Work out the perimeter of the path, right? So one thing to notice straight away, guys, is if this is 7 and this is 2, then the radius of the big circle is 9, because 7 plus 2. Okay, so what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to get the length of the outer circle, which is half the circumference. I'm going to get this length here, which is half this circumference, and I will just add 2 and 2. So it's actually not a bad question. So the circumference, the formula for the circumference of a circle is equal to 2 pi r, where r is the radius. Now, if you want to be really kind of, I'd say, elegant at the start, is half of the circumference is then just pi r, because I'm just going to half this. I'll do it the longer way just because it's more clear for everybody. So let's call this the outer circumference. So I'll call it the circumference. Let's call it the circumference big, for the big circumference. That's this outside one. Big circumference is equal to 2 times pi times the radius, which is 9 because of this 9, which is 18 pi. Now I'll leave it this, I'll leave 18 pi, I'll leave it in this form. And then I'm going to divide by 2. 18 pi divided by 2 equals 9 pi. I'm dividing by 2 because this would be the circumference of the full circle, like this. That's a good circle. That's the circumference of the full circle, but I obviously only want half the circle, so I divide by 2. Similarly, I'm going to do the circumference small equals 2 pi times 7, because this small radius is 7, which is 14 pi. And then I do 14 pi for the same reason, divided by 2, because it's only half the circle. Now I have 7 pi. So now I have big one, 9 pi, smaller one, 7 pi, and then I have to add this length here and this length here. But we know this length, it's 2, because this length is 2 here. So the perimeter equals 9 pi plus 7 pi plus 2 plus 2, well, plus 2 plus 2. And then he says, give your answer correct to 1 decimal place. So I have to do that on my calculator. So I'm going to do 9 pi plus 7 pi plus 2 is 54.265. 54.265, and then to 1 decimal place it's 54.3, because the 6 is bigger than 5, and that is the right answer. Okay, good. Question 9. This to the power of 4 equals, right, we have to do 2 to the power of 4, and actually let's do them separately over here. I have to do 2 to the power of 4, use your calculator, but it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, it's 16. X cubed to the power of 4, multiply the powers, this is the third rule of indices, so that's x to the power of 12. And finally, y to the 5 to the power of 4, multiply the powers, and we get y to the 20. So the final answer, I have to put them all down, it's 16 x to the 12 y to the 20. Okay, next one, factorize this. Again, guys, there's lots of ways to do this. My way is like this. Factors of x squared are x and x. Factors of 36 are 6 and 6, 12 and 3, 9 and 4, 36 and 1, 2 and 18. But it's going to be 9 and 4 because I need factors that multiply to get 36 and add to get 5. Now, 9 and 4 don't add to get 5, but plus 9 and minus 4 do add to get 5, and they multiply to get negative 36. So the factors are, write it out properly, x plus 9 times x minus 4. Hence solve this. So when he says hence solve this, and you can see there's only 1 mark, you've already factorized it. So you just say x plus 9 equals 0, or x minus 4 equals 0. which means x equals -9 or x equals 4. So you can write -9 and 4 like this if you want, but certainly you'd get full marks just for that. Okay, question 10. An isosceles triangle. D is the midpoint of AC and DB is 16. Fine. Work out, we have this angle, work out the perimeter of triangle ABC. Give your answer to 1 decimal place. Okay, so a slightly complicated way of asking us to find this length. Once I get this length, it's easy because it's just going to be, actually, sorry, that's not true. I'm going to get this length and I have to get this length. And then I'm going to do x plus y plus y. So I'll get x and then I'll get y. How do I get x? Well, I'm going to use SOHCAHTOA. SOHCAHTOA. And for this one, to get x, I have the opposite and I have the hypotenuse. So I'm going to use sine. So I'm going to say sine 65 equals opposite 16 over hypotenuse x. Then cross multiply. X sine 65 equals 16. X is equal to 16 over sine 65. Use your calculator. 16 over sine 65 is 17.654. 17.654. Okay, now I have x. Similarly, let's do y. So now I'm going to use the opposite and the adjacent. So it's tan. So I'm going to say the tan of 65 equals opposite, again, is 16. Adjacent is now y. Similar, let's cross multiply. Tan 65 equals 16. Y equals 16 divided by tan 65. Divide both sides by tan 65. And then y equals 16 divided by tan 65. Close bracket. 7.46. 7.46. Therefore, I have x and I have y, but the perimeter of the whole shape is x plus y plus y. So I need to do perimeter, let's say P for perimeter, is equal to x plus y plus y. Note I write down, guys, all my working. I write down what I'm thinking because you get marks for all these different things. And then I'll just do 17.654 plus 17.654 plus 7.46 plus 7.46, and I get 50.228. 50.228 or 50.2 to 1 decimal place. So 50.228, 50.228, which is 50.2 to 1 decimal place, which is correct. Okay, question 11. Cumulative frequency graph about the weights of 90 bags of sweets. Find an estimate for the median of the weight of these bags. Right, easy, guys. There's 90 sweets. Half 90 is 45. Go to 45, which is here. Go across. It should hit perfectly on one of these things, which it does. Go down. Each of these is in ones. Just make sure it is. In this case, it is 41, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 1, 4, 6. So the median is 1, 4, 6. Next question. Roberto sells the bags of sweets to raise money for charity. Bags with a weight greater than d grams are labeled large bags and sold for this. each bag. The total amount of money he received by selling all the large bags is 93.75. Find the value of D. Right. Confusing, a complicated question, for sure. Let's find out how many bags he sold. So he got 93.75 euros and he sold them for 3.75 each. So let's just find out how many bags did he actually sell. 93.75 divided by 3.75 is 25, right? So he sold 25 bags. Now these were bags bigger than D grams. So these were large bags. So that's important because when I go to my frequency, cumulative frequency graph, I want to get the largest 25. So the largest 10 would be these 10, the 80 to 90. The largest 20 would be the 70 to 90. And the largest 25 would be 75 to 90. So I need to go to my 75, go across and down. I go all the way down and I'll get to 151 exactly. So let's just write 151. So that is the answer to this question. Therefore, D is equal to 151. The other bit of working that you can show, you don't have to show it, is the 90 minus 25 is equal to 65. That's why here I went to 65 and down. Okay, now it's trying to get a bit harder. Express this as a single fraction. Okay, adding fractions, algebraic fractions is the same as adding any fractions. We need a common denominator. So the common denominator we choose is we just multiply these two together because we know this will definitely be a multiple of both if we just multiply them together. So we multiply these together. Then we do, okay, denominator times x plus 1, numerator times x plus 1, minus denominator times x minus 2, numerator times x minus 2. Be very careful with this minus. Numerator is 4x plus 4. We're going to multiply it out because he wants it in its simplest form. Minus 3x plus 6. Be careful, minus 3 times minus 2 is plus 6. All over x minus 2 times x plus 1. 4x minus 3x is x. 4 plus 6 is 10. So I have x plus 10 over x minus 2 times x plus 1. And that's it. That's the answer. You can write it here if you want. Expand and simplify. Okay. There's 3 factors. You can do these two first, or these two first, or even these two first. It doesn't matter, but you just do them separately. So I'm just going to do the first two first. 2x times x minus 5. This one's the easiest of all the multiplications. So 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times minus 5 is minus 10x. Then I'm going to do 2x squared minus 10x times x minus 3. And this is 2x squared times, I have to do it this way. This times this, this times this, this times this, and this times this. 2x squared times x is 2x cubed. 2x squared times minus 3 is minus 6x squared. Minus 10x times x is minus 10x squared. And minus 10x times minus 3 is plus 30x. 2x cubed minus 16x. 2x cubed minus 16x squared plus 30x, and we're done. Okay, next question, question 13. A is this, B is this, work out the gradient, right? Easy question for me, guys, because there's a formula. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Call this x1 y1 and call this x2 y2. y2 is minus 4, y1 is 8, x2 is 9, x1 is 5. This equals minus 4 minus 8 is minus 12, 9 minus 5 is 4. So it's minus 12 over 4, which is actually equal to negative 3. So m, I've used m for the gradient, negative 3. Part B, the straight line L has equation this. Write down the gradient of a straight line that is perpendicular to L. So this guy's gradient, L has gradient negative 4 because it's mx. Remember, y equals mx plus c. The m is the thing that comes before the x when it's in this form. If this is the gradient, negative 4 or negative 4 over 1, to get the perpendicular gradient, we flip and change the sign. So it's going to be positive and it's going to be 1 over 4. So this is a gradient of negative 1 over 4. It's the negative reciprocal. So flip and change the sign. Okay, 14. Ding is going to play one game of snooker against two of his friends, Marco and Jude. Probability tree is here. It gives information about the probabilities that Ding will win or lose each of the two games. Right, fine. Work out the probability that he wins both games. Right, tree diagrams, guys, I like because you just go along the branches. So if he wins both games, he needs to win, and win. And as we go along the branches, I just multiply the probabilities. 0.6 times 0.9 is 0.54. Easy. Part B. Work out the probability that he will win exactly one of the games. Now, exactly one means he has to. Let me just erase this, guys. If he's going to win exactly one, then he is going to have to win the first one and then lose. Or he could lose the first one and then win. They are the only two situations where you will win exactly one of the games. If he does this, he'll win both. And if he does this, he'll lose both. So I have to do this times this, 0.6 times 0.1, and then add it to, because it's or, it's this times this, or this times this, and for or I'm going to add or 0.4 times 0.25. Use a calculator for sure, guys. I'm going to do this in my head. It's 0.06 plus 0.1, which is equal to 0.16. 0.16. Use a calculator here, guys, in an exam. Okay, 15. A is this, V equals this correct to 1 decimal place, U 1 decimal place, and T 2 decimal places. Calculate the upper bound for A. Give your answer to 2 decimal places. Right. Okay. If you've ever seen me do one of these questions before, guys, you'll notice I do it like this. Okay. This is V. So I'm going to do this is my V, this is my U, and this is my T. This is V, U, and T. And V is 9.6, so I'm going to go 9.6 is here in the middle, and it's 1 decimal place, so I go up by 1 decimal place to here, 9.7, and I go down by 1 decimal place to here, which is 9.5. Similarly, U is 3.8, so I go 3.8, up 1 decimal place, 3.9, down 1 decimal place, 3.7. And T is 1.84, but it's to 2 decimal places, so I go up to 1.85 and I go down to 1.83. Okay, then I need to decide, do I want the upper or lower bounds? And I'll actually do them all, guys. The upper bound for this is here. It's halfway between these two. It's 9.65. Add them and divide by 2 if you want. The lower bound is 9.55. The upper bound here is going to be 3.85. The lower bound here is 3.75. And finally, upper bound here, 1.845. Lower bound, 1.835. Okay, these are the lower bounds, these are the upper bounds. I just need to decide to make A big. So we want the upper bound for A. The upper bound for A. So to make A big, so I write A big. I then need, in order for A to be big, I want V, because it's on the numerator, to be big. The bigger that number, the better. Think about A is money in your bank account. If A is money in your bank account, you want this to be a big number. And then you want to subtract, because you're minusing U, a small number, because they're taking that money out of your bank account. We subtract a small number, so U has to be small. And then we're going to divide your bank account by a number. Do you want them to divide by a big or a small number? Well, ideally a small number, because if you divide by a small number, that's bigger than dividing by a big number, if that makes sense. So make V big, U small, and T small, and that will maximize your bank account. How does that all fit into upper and lower bounds? Well, I can now just say A is equal to a big V, so this guy, the 9.65, that's the upper bound. It's the biggest possible V value. Subtract a small U, that's 3.75, that's the lower bound, and divide by a small t, which is 1.835. Put all this into the calculator, and I get 9.65 minus 3.75 all over, let's be careful guys, yeah, that's better, all over, you don't even need these brackets now, all over 1.835. 1.835 is this, 3.2152. 3.2152 to 2 decimal places, 3.22. So this equals 3.22. Okay, question 16. Ship B is north of A. The bearing of C from A is 120. Fine. Calculate the bearing of ship C from B. Give your answer correct to the nearest degree. Okay, first and foremost, what are we actually trying to find? Well, we are trying to find this. We're trying to find this angle. It's ship C from B. So we're going to start at B and we're going to turn until we get to C. So we're trying to find this angle. Let's call it X. Okay, how am I going to find that angle X? Well, if I could find this angle, let's call it y, that would help for sure. Let's find y, and then I could just take it from 180. I'm trying to think, is there any other way I could do this? I think, let me just check how many marks this is, guys. Okay, this is a big question, 5 marks. Fine. I think I'm gonna have to use so it's a this is a triangle, it's not a right angle triangle, so I have to use the sine rule or the cosine rule. Now I can't use the sine rule because if I do sine y over this equals sine this over this, I don't have this this length. So I can't use the sine rule yet, but I could find this length using the cosine rule. So I'll use the cosine rule and I'll call this A. So to find A, I'm going to use cosine rule. So it's A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos of theta, which is in the formula booklet. It's B squared plus C squared minus 2BC cos A. So A squared equals B squared 150 squared plus C squared 275 squared. I get, guys, some of you may be thinking, hang on, that's C and that's B, and I guess you're kind of right, but it makes no difference which one you choose because B squared plus C squared is the same as C squared plus B squared, and BC is the same as CB, so it doesn't actually matter. 150 times, right guys, I'm gonna have to go down here because I need more space. 150 times 275 times cos of the angle between them, which is 120. A is then, and guys, you can go straight from this to A, and the way you do it is with the square root. So I can go square root of, that's the cube root, square root of 150 squared plus 275 squared minus 2 times 150 times 275 times cos of 120. Now this will give me A, which is 25 root 223, or 373.3, let's just say 373.33, 373.33, which makes sense because it should be the longer of these three sides. So A is equal to 373.33. Now I can use the the sine rule to find y. I can say the sine of y, I'm just going to write in a different color, guys, because I don't want us to get confused here. So I'm going to say the sine of y, sine y over 275 equals sine 120 over 373.33. That's what the sine rule is. It's sine angle over its opposite side equals sine angle over its opposite side. Then I can say sine y equals 275 sine 120. I'm multiplying across by 373.33. I'm multiplying across by this 275 underneath the line here is being multiplied with this sine 120, and then I can get y using inverse sine. So to get y, actually guys, I'll just do another step again so we're clear. Sine y is equal to, and also guys, make sure they've given you loads of space. They've given you 2 pages. I'm squashing it in here so you can always keep an eye on the diagram. So don't do this. I've just done it. And that's why I changed the color. So sine y is equal to, let's work this out. 275 times sine 120 over 373.33. This will give me the same answer, guys. I know it looks a bit different, but that's fine. 0.637926. 0.637926. 637,926. Yes. Now, if I have the sine of y, all I need to do now to get the angle is do the inverse sine, and I can use the answer button here. So I can do inverse sine, answer, close bracket, and I get this 39.637. 39.637. 39.637. Therefore, the angle x is going to equal 180 minus 39.637, which is 180 minus 39.637 is 140.363. 140.363. He says to the nearest degree, so I want 140. So my answer is all the way down here, 140 degrees. Okay, next question. Question 17. Okay, we have a solid. There's a hemisphere on top of a cylinder. Radius is x. Height of the cylinder is 20 minus 4x. The volume of S is V, where V equals this. Find the maximum value of Y, right? This, guys, I'll warn you, is a very difficult question. It's volume of shapes along with calculus. So I'm going to split this up, guys, into V1 for the hemisphere and V2 for the cylinder. V1, again, I'm going to write up here. You guys write down there. V1 is 4 over 3 pi or cubed. This is the formula for the volume of a sphere. So I need to divide by 2 because it's a hemisphere. Now this divided by 2, 4 over 3 divided by 2 is 2 over 3. So it's 2 over 3 pi, and the radius is x, so it's pi x cubed. V2, the volume of the cylinder, also in the formula sheet, it's pi or squared h. Now pi is pi, or is x, and h we have, it's 20 minus 4x. I'll multiply this out, and I get 20 pi x squared, this times 20, minus 4 pi x cubed. Okay, that means the total volume is V1 plus V2. So it's 2/3 pi x cubed plus 20 pi x squared minus 4 pi x cubed. Okay, this is the volume. I could, well, let's do this. I can write this as 20 pi x squared, which is this, and then because these are both x cubed terms, I can add them together. So it's 2/3 pi x cubed minus 4 pi. So this is 2/3. You can forget the pi x cubed for a minute because it's going to be in terms of pi x cubed, but it's 2/3 minus 4, not like that. 2/3 minus 4 is minus 10 over 3. So this minus this is minus 10 over 3 pi x cubed. Okay, that's the volume in terms of x. So that's difficult enough on its own, but that's not what we're doing. We have to continue. He says the volume can be written as this. So let's do what he says. He says a third, and let's do it over here. A third pi y is equal to the volume. So it's equal to this. So now I'm getting y in terms of x. 20 pi x squared minus 10 over 3 pi x cubed. Okay, now let's multiply, well, let's first divide by pi. So I can divide everything by pi, which is nice because this is going to disappear. And then I'm going to multiply everything by 3, which will remove this 3. So this y, this becomes y, because this times 3 is, this disappears. This times 3 is 60x squared. And this times 3 also removes this 3. So it's minus 10x cubed. Okay, this is y. Right, let me move down a bit. So now I have y in terms of x. And he says find the maximum value of y. When I see the word maximum, guys, often I think derivative equals 0. Differentiate. So we're going to get dy dx. Dy dx is 2 times 60, 120, x, multiply by the power, subtract 1 from the power, minus 3 times 10 is 30, subtract 1 from the power, 2. So this is my derivative. At maximum, dy dx equals 0. This is a very important property or principle that you need to know, not just for IGCSE, but it'll come up in whatever maths you do in high school or beyond. So dy dx is equal to 0. So I'm going to equate this 120x minus 30x squared equals 0. Then I'm going to solve this. So the way to solve this is firstly divide everything by 30. I can divide this by 30, gives me 4x. Divide this by 30, gives me 1, equals 0. Okay, and divide this by 30 is also 0. Then factorize. I can take out the x. So x times 4 minus x equals 0. So either x equals 0 or 4 minus x equals 0, which means x equals 4 if I just add x to the other side. So x equals 4. This has to be my answer, because obviously if x was 0, that would mean the radius is 0, which wouldn't be anything. It wouldn't even exist. So x has to be 4. So I'll just say therefore, I'll do it up here. Therefore, x equals 4. Now that's the value of x that gives you the maximum value of y. So then I'm just going to sub this 4 into y. Sub into y equals 60x squared minus 10x cubed, which gives me 60 times 4 squared minus 10 times 4 cubed. Hopefully this is the right answer. Okay, 60 times 4 squared, that's 50. 60 times 4 squared minus 10 times 4 cubed. That is the right answer. 320. So that's the maximum value of y. Okay, I told you that was a difficult question. 320. Okay, 18. Given that this times this equals this, where x is a prime number and y is an integer, find the value of x and the value of y. Show each stage of your working clearly. Okay, I'm going to multiply, guys, these out. So I'm going to do 8 minus root x times 5 plus root x. Okay, this gives me 8 times 5 is 40. 8 times root x is 8 root x. Minus root x times 5 is minus 5 root x. And minus root x times root x is minus x. Okay, this gives me 8 root x minus 5 root x is 3 root x. So this gives me 3 root x, 3 root x plus 3 root x plus 40 minus x. Okay, now this is fine because 3 is y, it's a prime number. Oh no, sorry, it's an integer. X is a prime number, so we need this to be, we need x, or 40 minus x has to be 21 because we need to add 21. So x is 19. So let x equal 19, and we have 3 root 19 plus 40 minus 19, which is 3 root 19 plus 21, which is what they want. We have a integer, prime number plus 21 plus 21. So x is 19 and y is 3. Okay, that wasn't as bad as it looked. It did look pretty bad at the start. Okay, question 19, simultaneous equations. These ones are never easy, but they are very often the same, or at least similar. Okay, what I do is I write, so I have x plus 2y minus 1 equals 0. I'm going to write this, I'm going to make x the subject. I'm going to write it in terms of, I'm going to write x in terms of y. So x is equal to, I'm going to add 1 to both sides and subtract the 2y. So add the 1, subtract the 2y. Now I have x equals 1 minus 2y. Then instead of x in this one, in this equation, this non-linear equation, I'm going to put 1 minus 2y. So instead of x squared, I'm going to write 1 minus 2y squared minus 9y minus 1 minus 2y equals 2y squared minus 12. Okay, now I have just one equation. Sorry, I have an equation with just one variable. Still not easy because I have to multiply all this out. Okay, at the side, you might want to do 1 minus 2y times 1 minus 2y. This is equal to 1 times 1, 1 times minus 2y, minus 2y times 1, minus 2y times minus 2y is 4 plus 4y squared. Simplify it to 1 minus 4y plus 4y squared. Okay, this goes here. 1 minus 4y plus 4y squared minus 9y. Careful here, it's minus 1 plus 2y equals 2y squared minus 12. Okay, the ones cancel. 1 minus 1, they're gone. I have 4y squared here, and I'm going to minus 2y squared here, so I get 2y squared. That's this minus this. Then I have minus 4y minus 9y is minus 13y, plus 2y is minus 11y. And then finally, I'm going to add the 12 over here, plus 12 equals 0. Okay, now I have a quadratic that definitely doesn't look easy to factorize, but I think it does factorize. Let's do it. It's going to be 2y and y. Both signs have to be the same because this is positive and this is negative, so they both have to be negative. So I just need to find out, is it 4 and 3 or 2 and 6? And it's going to be 4 and 3 because when I cross multiply, I'm going to get minus 8y and minus 3y, which gives me minus 11y. This is minus 8y. This is minus 3y, gives me minus 11y. This bit, guys, I'm well aware is hard. If you still don't know how to factorize, just use the quadratic formula or use your calculator and then kind of reverse engineer the factors. Okay, so the factors are 2y minus 3 times y minus 4, and this equals 0. So the solutions are 2y minus 3 equals 0, or y minus 4 equals 0. 2y equals 3, y equals 3 over 2, or y equals 4. So I have my two y's. Now I just need to get my two x's. So here, x equals 1 minus 2y. That is from this. X equals 1 minus 2y. When when y is 3 over 2, so y equals 3 over 2, then, let's just do that, then x equals 1 minus 2 times 3 over 2. Use your calculator here. This is going to be 1 minus 3, which is negative 2. And when y equals 4, this one's a bit easier, x equals 1 minus 2 times 4, which is 1 minus 8, which is negative 7. Now I have my two solutions. X, and write them together. X equals negative 2 when y equals 3 over 2. Or x equals minus 7, this guy, when y equals 4. Okay, difficult question, always, guys, these ones are, but as I said, they're always the same, so they're not too bad. This, on the other hand, looks difficult, right? A and B are two similar solids. A has a volume of this, B has a volume of that, B has a total surface area of that. Work out the total surface area. Actually, guys, I like this because if you've ever seen me do these types of questions before, I write down something called the scale factor, the area factor, and the volume factor. And depending on which one I can figure out the other two. So if B's volume, the volume factor is B's volume, 4352, over A's volume, which is 1836. Now this is maybe a nice number, 4352 divided by 1836. That is a nice number, guys. I'll show you why in a second. 64 over 27. So the volume factor, and I'm going to leave it as a fraction, is 64 over 27. Okay, I'll give it a bit more space. Okay. Once I have the volume factor, that's 64 over 27. Once I have the volume factor, I can find the scale factor. So guys, always go to the scale factor. Even though I'm dealing with area, do the scale factor first and then get the area factor. So if the volume factor is 64 over 27, the scale factor is the cubed root of 64 over 27. The cubed root. Now, the reason I said that's a nice number is because the cubed root of 64 over 27 is 4 over 3. Because cubed root of 64 is 4, cubed root of 27 is 3. Use your calculator if you don't believe me. Once I have the scale factor, I can get the area factor. The area factor is the scale factor squared. 4 squared is 16. 3 squared is 9. Now I have the area factor. So if B's area of B is 1120, how do I get area A? Well, remember B's the bigger one, so to get A, I have to divide the area of B by the area factor, which is 16 over 9. So just be careful. I'm doing this divided by 16 over 9. So it is 1120 divided by, I'm going to put in another one of these. Now notice that's the longer line. That's the longer line here. 16 over 9 gives me 630, which is the right answer. Okay, hard question, guys, but I think definitely if you write this out, it makes the whole thing more manageable. Okay, that's 630. Next question. Question 21. Okay, transformations. A curve has equation y equals f of x. The coordinates of the minimum point are that. Write down the coordinates of the minimum point on the curve with equation this. Okay, so guys, this is a question 21, but it's actually not difficult. If you understand that the f of x plus 3 translates the graph left by 3. So you actually subtract 3, but it goes this way. So the minimum point, which is minus 9, 15, goes left 3. So we do minus 9 minus 3. Minus 9 minus 3 is negative 12. And the 15 stays the same because that's the y coordinate. It's not going up and down, it's just going left. So it's minus 12, 15. This guy is a vertical stretch of scale factor 1/3. So we're going to stretch it by 1/3, which means we're going to multiply 15 by 1/3, which is 5, the y coordinate. The x coordinate stays the same because we're not moving anything in the x direction. So once you know your rules, guys, these two are quite easy. Okay, part B, not as easy. The graph of y equals this is shown below. Given that a is bigger than 0 and b is between 0 and 360, find the value of a and the value of b. Okay, this, guys, is difficult. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, it's a cosine graph. So what's happened is, let me actually try and draw something for you guys. This. Okay. The normal cosine graph starts here. And it continues like this. That's a cosine graph. But no, sorry, I meant it starts here. It starts at the top. Okay? Now, normally it starts at 1, but because it has been stretched vertically, so normally it would start at 1 and go down like this to -1 and then go up like this. But because it isn't starting at 1, it's starting at 2, that means a is equal to 2. Let's write that here. A is 2. It's been vertically stretched, scale factor 2. So that's fine. This bit's more tricky. The graph has been moved. Now, you can move it right and it'll get onto their graph, or you can move it left and it'll get onto their graph. like that. It's periodic, which means it just repeats itself. So you can move it as much as you want to fit onto this. But it says b has to be between 0 and 360. Now what that means is, because it's between 0 and 360, that means I'm moving it left. Because if you remember from this question here, an f of x plus 3 means we move the graph left 3. Here, f of x plus b, where b is positive, means we're moving it left. Now, how much are we moving it left? Well, let's do it. I'm going to move it from here over to here. Now you can see, how much did I move it left? Well, let's go back to where it was. Now, look at the minimum. Look at this minimum point here. This is a minimum. It started at 180. And I'm going to move it left to here. And now the minimum point is there. How much, and I think actually part A, they're trying to kind of give you a hint to use that minimum to figure out this question. But how much left did we move the graph when we moved it from 180 to 90, because this will be 90 if this is 0. Hence, b has to be 90. So b is equal to 90. A is 2, b is 90. Okay, that was hard. Next question, 22. Express the inverse function f minus 1 in the form f minus 1 of x. Okay, where x is less than or equal to 4. So this is a quadratic inverse function, which are often the worst type. We have to complete the square. So f of x equals this. To complete the square, I'm going to do x minus 4 squared. I'm going to subtract 16 because I subtract this squared, and I'm going to add 5. This is the completing the square method. If you don't know how to do it, guys, go and learn it. It's x minus 4 squared minus 11. Okay, that is the function with the square completed, the completed square version of f of x. Then I let y equal this, x minus 4 squared minus 11. Because it is the inverse function that I'm trying to get, I swap x and y. Because that's what the inverse function is. It's what happens when the y's become the x's and the x becomes the y's. So I'm going to swap it. X equals y minus 4 squared minus 11. Then I rearrange to get y. So I have y minus 4 squared equals x plus 11. Then I'm going to do, well, let's just swap these guys. Y minus 4 squared equals x plus 11. Square root, y minus 4 equals the square root of x plus 11. And then y has to equal 4, or this plus 4, so 4 plus the square root of x plus 11. Or sorry, it's plus or minus. Right, this is, yeah, I should have put that here actually. It's plus or minus, plus or minus. Now this final bit is, I always find a bit mean of them to force you to get the right one of these, because it can't be plus or minus. It has to be either the plus one or the minus one. The way we figure it out is from this this domain. So the domain of f is x is less than or equal to 4. which means the range of f minus 1 is y is less than or equal to 4. So the domain of f is the same as the range of f minus 1. And the range of f is the same as the domain of f minus 1. But if the domain of f is less than or equal to, x is less than or equal to 4, then the range of y has to be less than or equal to 4. So y has to be less than or equal to 4. So that means y cannot be 4 plus this. It has to be y is equal to 4 minus root of x plus 11. That's to get the final mark. But if you got to here, guys, well done. Okay, that's question 22. How many questions do we have left? 2 more, I think. 2 more. Okay, question 23. OAB is a triangle. So we have a triangle. OA is 2A. So let's just put that in straight away. OA is 2A. And OB is 2B. So from here to here is 2B. M is the midpoint of AB. And N is the point on OB such that ON to NB is 2 to 1, right? So let's do this bit first, guys. I need to do you remember when we divide ratios? So we do 2 plus 1 is 3, and then we divide the length by 3. So I'm going to do my 2b, because this total length here is 2b. So I'm going to do 2b divided by 3, and I'm going to times 2 for this guy. So this will be 4b over 3, because I'm going to times 2, 4b over 3. And I times 1, which is obviously just 2b over 3. So this will be 4b over 3, or 4 over 3b, and this guy will be 2 over 3b. And this is, if you think about it, I'll just move this over here, guys, up there out of the way, but this is 2b, because 4b over 3 plus 2b over 3 is 6b over 3, which is 2b. Okay, now that is going this direction, and this guy is going this direction. Okay, then he says, P is the point on AN such that P is the point on AN such that OPN is a straight line. Fine. Use a vector method to find the ratio OP to PM. Okay, I did a similar question to this in just the last video I made, and the way I did it is I said, okay, we're trying to get this ratio OP to PM, but I'm going to say, right, let OP be some fraction of this line OM, and the fraction, I'll call it, is lambda. So for example, if P was in the middle of the line, lambda would be a half, because it would be half of the whole thing. If I can find this fraction, I can find the ratio, no problem. Because if this fraction is, say, 5/9, the ratio would be 5 to 4, because it would be 5/9 to 4/9. Okay, now the way I did it in the last example, and I'll do the same here, is if they want me to find OP to PM, I'm going to find OP, but I'm going to find it in 2 different ways, and then I'm going to equate them, right? So how am I going to find OP in 2 different ways? The first way is I'll go straight across here. I'll go I'll say it's lambda times OM, but I'm going to have to find OM. And the second way I'll do it is I'll go this way. I'll go to A and then across to P. Both ways I'm going to need other vectors. So I'm going to first need AM, and to get AM I need first AB. So let's start by getting AB. AB to go from A to B, I'm going to go minus 2A, because remember we walk along here, we go down this way against the arrow, minus 2A, plus 2B, because I'm going with the arrow. Which means quite easily AM is then just a half of this, or minus A plus B. So this vector here is minus A plus B. Okay, fine. Then, okay, now I can get OM, because I have AM. So OM, that will be from here all the way to M. It's going to equal 2A. I'm going to go up the 2A and along this. So it'll be 2A plus this, which is minus A plus B, which is 2A minus A is A plus B. Okay, nice. So OM is A plus B. And then I can say, right, OP then, OP is equal to, and this was the whole goal of this, lambda times A plus B, or lambda A plus lambda B. Fine, now I have OP in one nice method. The next method I'm going to use is I'm going to go OA and then AP. So to do that, I need first AN. So let's get AN. How do I get AN? I'm going to go down this way, so it's minus 2A. And then I'm going to add this plus 4 over 3B. So minus 2A plus 4 over 3B gets me to N. Then A to P, same kind of issue. I don't know what this ratio is, so I'm going to call it mu. Mu is the fraction of the full line AN, the fraction of that line from A to P. So I'm then going to say AP, this guy's is obviously a really hard question. AP is then mu times this, mu times minus 2A plus 4 over 3B, which is minus 2 mu A plus 4 over 3 mu B. Finally, I want to get OP. I don't want AP, I want OP. So OP, I have to go up this, that's my 2A, up my 2A, and then over AP. So I need to add this. So it's going to be, just add what I've written down, minus 2 mu A plus 4 over 3 mu B. Okay, now I have my two OPs, and this is the hard bit done. I'm now going to say, right, here I have my lambda A. This must equal 2 minus 2 mu, because the A's of this, if they're equal, and they are equal, because OP obviously equals OP, then the A part, because A and B are a vector, the A part must equal the A part, and the B part must equal the B part. So lambda equals 2 minus 2 mu. Let's write that down. Lambda equals 2 minus 2 mu. And, well, also lambda. Hang on. Also lambda here. This lambda equals this, 4 over 3 mu. So I can also add lambda also equals 4 over 3 mu. Then I can just solve these equations simultaneously. Seeing as I have them both equal to lambda, I might as well find mu. So I'll just equate them. I'll say 2, if lambda equals this and lambda equals this, then obviously 2 minus 2 mu equals 4 over 3 mu. And I can say 2 equals 4 over 3 mu plus 2 mu. Hang on, plus 2 mu. I'll just scroll down to here, guys. 4 over 3 plus 6 over 3 is 10 over 3. So 10 over 3 mu equals 2. Multiply by 3 is 6. Divide by 10. Mu is equal to 6 over 10. Or mu is equal to 3 over 5. Fine. And then over here, I can say, right, lambda, so we know lambda is 4 over 3 mu. So lambda is 4 over 3 times 3 over 5, which is, the 3's cancel, 4 over 5. Okay, this makes me happy, guys, because I know I'm right, because I know the answer. And if lambda is 4 over 5, so that means if this lambda is 4 over 5, then this distance here must be, let's get a different color, this distance must be 1/5. Now it's a fraction of the whole thing. So if this is 4/5 and this is 1/5, the ratio is 4 to 1. So the ratio from OP to PM has to be 4/5 to 1/5, if you like, which is the same as 4 to 1. So the ratio is 4 to 1. I'll write it here, 4 to 1, and I'll write it here. Okay, last question. 24. An arithmetic series has first term A, common difference D. The sum of the first 2n terms of the series is 4 times the sum of the first n terms of the series. Okay. Find an expression for A in terms of D. Okay, so there's a formula. The formula is, let's write it here. Sn equals n over 2, 2a plus m minus 1 d. This is in the formula sheet. N is the number of terms, a is the first term, and d is the common difference. Okay, that's the sum of the first n terms, which means the sum of the first 2n terms will just equal this, but instead of n, I'm going to put in 2n. So it's going to equal 2n over 2. Instead of n, I've put 2n. 2a plus 2n minus 1 times d. Okay, that's the sum of the first n terms. That's the sum of the first 2n terms. He says the sum of the first 2n terms is 4 times the sum of the first n terms. So the equation that I can write is this equals 4 times this. Let's do it. And by the way, this simplifies to, I'll just do it, n into 2a plus 2n minus 1 d, because 2n over 2, the 2's cancel, I'm left with n. So I can write n into 2a plus 2n minus 1 d equals 4 of these. So I'm going to write 4 times all of this. But 4 times all of this is just the same as 4n over 2. 2a plus n minus 1 d. Now what does he actually want? He wants an expression. He wants an expression for a in terms of d. Okay. The reason I can do this, because I was just thinking about my n, but now I have an equation. I can divide both sides by n. And if I divide both sides by n, that n disappears and that n disappears. Great. So now I have 2a. Well, I still have n's in here, guys, but this will hopefully work out. I have 2a plus, I'm going to multiply this out. I have 2nd, 2n times d, and minus d. That looks like second, but it's not, guys. It's 2nd, and this is minus d. Equals 4 divided by 2 is 2. And I have 2a plus, let's multiply this out, n times d is nd, minus times d is minus d. Okay, guys, obviously I know this is hard. This is the last question. It's supposed to be hard. Left hand side is the same. Multiply this out. I get 4a plus 2nd minus 2d. Now I had a feeling this would happen. Look, the 2nd, because we need to get rid of the n, because we want an expression for a in terms of d. So this 2nd and this 2nd, I can just subtract, because I'm basically I'm subtracting 2nd from both sides. So they disappear. So now I'm left with 2a minus d equals 4a minus 2d. Let's get the a's on the right, just because I have a positive here. So it's 4a minus 2a, subtract this 2a, and I'll have my minus d here, plus this 2d. Minus d plus 2d is d, and 4a minus 2a is 2a. Not done, guys, because he wants an expression for a in terms of d, so I need to write a, like make a the subject. A is equal to d over 2. And that's it. That's the right answer. I would argue the vector question was harder, much harder than this one, but definitely this is not an easy question either. So this is a equals d over 2. And that's it, guys. That is the paper done. Yeah, I'd probably say not an easy paper, for sure. The first few questions weren't easy, and the last few questions were very, very hard. There were questions in the middle that were definitely manageable. Okay, that's it, guys. I'll see you for paper 2.